Alright guys, I'm going to continue working on this Lion-O artwork. Now, I did a post about this on my channel where in the community tab, where what had dawned on me was that this whole piece of artwork, he didn't look like a toy. He just looked like a weird Lion-O, and I was not happy with it, and that was the reason. So I thought, you know what I ought to do is redraw this guy and make him look like an action figure. Now he's not gonna look like an 80s action figure because that would be that wouldn't look great. So now I've converted the redraw into blue lines, and I am gonna start to ink this thing. Now, inking is not my strong point. I'm not so much an illustrator as I am more of a concept artist, but I'm going to use I'm trying to stretch myself and do this whole thing all the way to completion. So I'm going to be using two inkers. You'll see them. One is kind of like a wavy, here I'll make it huge so you can see it. Kind of does like a thick thin like this. Okay, and then the other one is going to be for doing those quick hatch lines. So I'll have like a real fat one like this. You'll see me doing that. And then a thin one for doing little hatching like that. So what I've been doing is using that kind of calligraphy type one. And I'm just coming in. Whoa, it was still huge. Now, I was reading an interview with Jim Phillips. So you're going to see he did all this fantastic artwork over here. So I have two panes for reference. I have some of his ink work, and then I have a Lion-O. I got a bunch of reference of a Lion-O action figure that was really cool. And I know this one is modern, but you know, it's not from the 80s, but don't get all technical. Anyway, back to that article. I was reading an article about Jim Phillips, the artist who did the original art, and he said it would take him weeks to do these kinds of drawings, and I'm going, oh no. And then I started inking, or practicing inking, and I realized, oh, that's why you're gonna see me undo a lot. But again, I'm only going to go about 20 minutes, and I don't even know how far I'm going to get. Now, I'm just getting a variety of lines, and this probably will feel like a coloring book more than a comic book by the end of it, because again, it's more of a graphic for a skateboard deck. You want that clarity. I'm going to be coloring things in, so I'm thinking by the end of this it will look more coloring book like than comic book like. I got all kinds of reference for this Lion-O figure, different kinds of it. This is a cool one. This one is kind of the inspiration for the hair and a lot of his costume. See, they have like a big hair version over here. That's the one I'm gonna go with, because that mimics kind of the ragdoll's hair. Even though you don't see this, I'm still gonna ink it in case I have to nudge things around. Man, I didn't mess around. I went right for the face. I've been practicing. So on my the community tab, you could see the old Lion-O that I did. So I was practicing. But man, it's its own art form, inking. I was watching some videos of like really good comic book artists, and yeah, it's its own thing. It's its own skill. That's something that might be helpful if you guys use Procreate. Here, I'll show you a little thing. See how I'm scaling the size of it? You can actually, if you find yourself using the same brushes, like this is a 3%, you can check this little plus in the corner here, and now that's created a little marker, and I can just click that and it'll go right back to that size that I wanted. So, and then if you want to get rid of it, you just click it again. You would click the minus. He's looking a little like Blanca. So, oh well. I want to make him a crazy Lion-O. He's the key character in the artwork. So he's the centerpiece. And you really want him to have a big presence and show a lot of personality. And so I'm glad I redrew this. I'm already liking this better than the original one, the last version I did. Now what I'll do is I'll get the lines in, and then I'll create another layer to experiment with the shading. Now, one of the things about Jim Phillips' work is he would do all kinds of, really exaggerated, here I'll zoom in, cartoonish characters. like this. Now this one, he's using a lot of that pointillism, that stippling. It's less line work. It's almost all stippling, and I'm not going to do that. But he almost has like a crazy, you know, like the teeth are kind of broken, and I don't know how much that I'm going to put in the Lion-O, but I do want to capture some of that wildness. You know, like I'm not going to have hairs coming out of his nose. Like Jim Phillips would probably have like hair coming out, or I'm not gonna go that crazy. Or he'd have like a wart, you know? Not gonna do that. Okay. It's hard not to make him look girly because of the cat paint they have. Looks like big eyelashes. So I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I'll just keep going and figure it out. And I'm definitely gonna make his eyes, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make his eyes glowing. So again, a little craziness. And look how fine you can get some of these lines. It's crazy. It's the same pen. Okay. I was working on this claw earlier just to get warmed up. Okay, so I'm gonna go through and just keep, I only have 5 minutes left on this stream, so maybe I'll just show you what the next phase is on the head here. So then I do another layer, then I would get this, that kind of whipping brush stroke pen so that I can pull some of the lines. You can see here Jim Phillips does a lot of this. Here, I'll zoom in. See that? Also, he picks I took some notes and put them in the community tab again. If you watch this and you haven't seen my channel, I communicate a lot of stuff in the community tab. Also there, if you have questions, you can ask them there. But yeah, he then, you know, now this is on a separate layer because I don't know if I'm going to be able to, you know, I'm experimenting. So some of this I'm learning as I go. So if the light is coming from this way, he puts heavy shadows on the far side. And then he's pulling lines out of that, and they're pretty beefy. Now this thing too is big. When I printed out one, and it's really, you think these lines are going to be too big. The thing is that the artwork is big. I think a skateboard deck is about 8 inches wide. So this piece of art is going to be, you know, big. So I'm using the thick line, and then you could just pull, and you get that little whip, like that. So again, yeah, I'm trying to think of the forms, the jaw here. And once I get into a groove, I'm sure it will get easier, but this is the gist of it. You're breaking up that line and get a smaller one that I have. And then I'm referencing that cool drawing he did. I had that deck. The one that's the Phillips reference. It was the Rob Roskop version 4. So he had a monster breaking out of this target, and each version was more of the monster coming out of it. And I had this one. It was awesome. It was rad. You can also use this pen for beefing up some of the lines, little hatch marks. So again, thinking of that light coming across. And to me, it really, when you start getting that hatching in there, it just feels dated. I don't know. It just feels retro. Love it. So I'm going to keep going with this. I'm going to keep having fun. Again, these videos are just 20-minute shorts, sharing some of the process, not all of it, because, you know, I'm experimenting, learning, you know, messing up, and, you know, those videos would be too long. So hopefully you got some value out of this, and thanks for watching. Until next time, keep drawing and keep designing.